The Object 140 is not a tank I would consider very well armored. In front of you, we have a T-57 Heavy using AP ammunition with around 260-ish mils a pen, aiming at the front of a 140. And yeah, there's not a whole lot of red. The upper plate is only about 200 millimeters thick. The turret's only about 260. I mean, sure, if you're hauled down, it might be a little troll at certain spots when you shoot at the turret, but for the most part, the turret is pretty dang weak. And that's without even loading heat ammunition. Loading heat, the entire tank basically becomes a pinata. It's a little unfortunate because it would be quite a bit better if it had armor. However, Wargaming is planning on doing quite substantial changes to the Object 140 in the next update of the game. Its view range is getting worse, which is actually a bit weird to see, because, I don't know, I kind of like the view range on it. You had good camo and the ability to sometimes outspot lights, but now that they're nerfing its view range, that's most likely not going to be the case anymore. But what is going to be a very, very nasty case is the increase of this vehicle's damage per minute, going from 3,154 base to 3,353. Now, I want to point out that the Object 140 already features 3,560 DPM with rammer and fully equipped. That means, next update, the Object 140 is going to be sitting just around 3,800 damage per minute if you're running rammer on it. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are telling me, oh, it's going to be great, except for the fact that, first of all, the damage per shot is going down. It's going from 310 to 300. This is going to be the same alpha as a Vickers Light. The problem is, the Vickers Light actually has 10 degrees of gun depression, the Object 140 has 6 degrees of gun depression, so it's going to be quite awkward to use a tank with only 300 damage per shot and only 250 on the heat to go up against opponents, but at least it's not losing penetration, so that's one of the good things I can say. The DPM on the HE is going to be absolutely insane, though. Getting behind an opponent and dealing like upwards of 5k DPM with HE is actually pretty insane. It's going up almost 1 round a minute from 10.18 to 11.18, which is changing its reload from 5.9 seconds to 5.4 base. Its dispersion is also getting better, going from 0.336 base to 0.326, which is going to be quite nice. The turret traverse is getting better, and the engine power is getting better, increasing its power to weight on hard, medium, and even soft terrain. So, essentially, Wargaming is making this a much faster vehicle, and the 140 is already quite a fast tank. We can take a look at what the vehicle has going for it fully equipped, and as you can see, really good DPM with gun rammer. And when we take a look at the dispersion of this vehicle, fully equipped it's 0.317, so it'll most likely be around 0.308 next update with the changes occurring to the vehicle. It's already got great on movement dispersion. As I said, the gun depression's pretty mediocre, but the power to weight on this tank is already the best in tier 10 when it comes to mediums. 38.8 on hard terrain and 32.91 on medium terrain. That is already incredibly fast. If we go to the main Blitzhanger site and we go to light, we can take a look at something like the T100 LT's power to weight, and it is 34 and 30. So already this tank has basically the same effective power to weight as a light. Next update, with the increase of the power to weight, once again, this is going to be faster than a lot of the light tanks, and it's going to allow it to catch them and very easily take them apart. The Object 140 also features great camo, which is something a lot of people don't know. If we go back over to the Object 140, we can take a look and see that it currently has the third best concealment for tier 10 mediums at 32% while still and 24% while moving. If you're actually running a camo net on this vehicle, which I know sounds weird, but if you are, you can get the camo while moving upwards of 30%, which is actually pretty good. I mean, it's obviously not T100 LT levels of 37%, but that's close. To be fair, that's actually quite close, and it means that, again, this is actually going to be a really, really solid medium for just sitting in a bush, waiting for somebody to make a mistake, and then absolutely farming them for it. I think the vehicle is going to be quite strong, but there is a pretty big downside that's going to be occurring to the vehicle. We already know that the armor on the 140 is pretty poor, so what if I told you the armor is getting even worse on the Object 140? We can see here that this is the 140, and yeah, see the upper plate, and it's a slight little hint, but the upper plate is getting worse, and the turret cheeks are also getting worse. So, we are going from what the current 140 has on the upper plate hull down to actually be pretty troll. It's a bounce against AP shells, and fully hull down, it's about 320 millimeters thick. That's not too bad. You can actually angle it, and at certain angles, you can get some troll bounces here and there, especially against AP ammunition. You can see how the upper plate and the lower plate can be quite troll. The turret as well can be kind of troll when you're shooting shells at it, especially if you're shooting at a weird angle. You might bounce here. However, in the next update, we can see that the Object 140's turret cheeks are getting nerfed even more, only going to be sitting at 196 millimeters thick. The gun is 40 millimeters thick, which means even shooting through the gun of the Object 140 and into the turret cheek, it's only going to be about 220 millimeters. So you can literally just completely butter through the 140. The only spot you're still going to struggle with is the mantlet. It's still got some pretty troll spots. We can actually see that here. The mantlet is still going to be very troll, so I wouldn't recommend to actually shoot through the mantlet of the 140. But apart from that, I mean, everything's a pen. Even the super angled bits of the edge of the turret, loading heat, you're easily going to cut through. The upper superstructure of the turret, 220, 180. The roof is only about 160. This slight bar here is going to be the only chance you have of getting a bounce, about 220 to 30. It's pretty sad, I'm going to be completely honest. Even fully held down, the turret has literally negative armor. The upper plate is also worse, going from 220 millimeters to what it previously was at about 230. So yeah, it's also losing armor on the upper plate. Literally just everywhere, the Object 140 is getting worse on armor. Now the side armor is still going to be troll. This little angled bit here is a very, very troll spot. And to what I'm aware, yeah, it's not changing. So the Object 140 at a pretty steep angle, you can see, is still going to be very troll. This little angled bit here, it doesn't really matter how little the frontal armor is. You will still get weird auto ricochets on the side of the Object 140 hull. It's incredibly cringe that it exists. It's happened a lot of times. You'll be aiming down on the vehicle or something, you know, you'll be very close to a face hug on the tank and you'll shoot down on it. It'll just bounce right off that side armor. So a little cringe, but at the end of the day, the Object 140 is going to be stronger. It's obviously gaining DPM, and even though it's losing armor, let's be real, it's not really losing much armor. The vehicle is already pretty poor. So I don't think the armor nerf is going to actually affect the vehicle that much. The buffs are definitely going to help it. Gaining DPM, gaining mobility, and having the fact that its accuracy is getting flat better is all buffs. But if I'm going to be completely honest, I still don't think it's going to be anything special. Personally, I would much rather drive something like the 62A, which next update is going to have an upper plate upwards of 260 base. That's without even using the 7 degrees. That's going to make it upwards of 340. And the turret cheeks at weakest are around 270. I mean, sure, the 62A is going to have a bit less DPM at around 3,400, 400 less with rammer than what the Object 140 is going to carry. But DPM doesn't mean anything if you're not actually able to use it. And for the case of the 140, featuring poor gun depression, poor armor, and not even great view range, it's just going to make it very tricky to use the gun, especially when all the other mediums are getting mega buffed as well. But let me know what you guys think about the vehicle in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my take, but I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.